The NBA sees some really bad front office moves from time to time, but there have been those that have altered the history of the league. On the other hand, there were those that led to instant results and in some cases, instant championships. Today, we're going through those types of decisions and analyzing some of the worst and best trades in the NBA. Hello basketball fans and welcome back to Hoop Vision. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Takes only a second, costs nothing, and will give you access to more basketball stories. In 2019, the Clippers traded their entire future for Paul George. They gave up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks, and 2 first-round swaps. In their defense, Paul George was coming from a solid season with OKC, and the Clips thought he'd make them a title contender paired with Kawhi. Unfortunately, we all know how that experiment ended. Just by taking a look at both the Clippers and OKC today, it's more than obvious why this trade was a huge mistake. The Clippers are trying to appear alive with Harden and Kawhi, but we all know they ain't winning anything anytime soon. When Ben Simmons was struggling in Philly, everyone thought he needed a change in environment. At first glance, the Nets didn't have to pay the huge price. They got rid of James Harden and Paul Millsap, and in return received Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, 2 first-round picks, and at the time, still a promising NBA superstar. However, the tables have turned upside down. Since then, Simmons has played in only 57 games and did nothing for the franchise. On the other hand, the franchise is paying him around $35 million per year, and in the last remaining season of his contract, which is the 2024-25 season, he'll receive another $40 million from the Brooklyn Nets. Despite not losing many future assets, when a franchise gets absolutely nothing in return after making the trade, they definitely deserve to be on this type of list. If we told you to trade Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for a squad of aging Hall of Famers, you'd probably say we're crazy. Well, that's exactly what the Brooklyn Nets did, which grants them another spot on our list. Back in 2013, the era of Pierce, Allen, and Garnett was over in Boston, and Danny Ainge wanted to move the remaining players in order to start the rebuild. Little did he know he'd rob Brooklyn and draft future faces of the franchise, while Brooklyn didn't even manage to move past the second round. Would you trade Luka Doncic for Trae Young? Probably not. Being in the NBA business means you'll make a mistake here and there, but trading Luka for Trae Young was probably the biggest mistake the Hawks have made in their history. Trae might be an all-star level player, but you just can't compare him to Luka, who has an almost unreal effect on the game. Since they both arrived into the league, the Hawks have reached one conference finals, but have never been a real threat in terms of winning at all. Luka, on the other hand, already has that MVP aura around him, and if he works more on his attitude towards the refs and his defense, he could win the title sooner than people expect. Imagine if there was a time machine and you could go back in time to see how different the world would be if Kobe Bryant stayed with the Charlotte Hornets. Luckily, we were never able to witness such a thing, thanks to Jerry West being a genius for spotting talent and thinking long-term. Charlotte thought they won the trade by getting a solid center in Vlade Divac, while giving away just another 18-year-old kid with a dream of being a superstar. Little did they know the kid would grow into a Black Mamba and win 5 championships for the Lakers throughout his career. While we're at Los Angeles legends, did you know there was another one besides Kobe that almost ended up somewhere else entirely? In 1979, Utah Jazz made a deal with the Lakers that involved 6 mediocre players and some cash on the side. They probably wanted to increase roster depth for the next season, and all it cost them was 1 first-round pick. Well, that one pick ended up being Magic Johnson, a Hall of Fame player whose accomplishments could be talked about for hours. Ironically, while trying to be more competitive next season, they gave the Lakers the Pierce they were missing, and they ended up winning the championship with the Finals MVP, none other than Magic himself. Do you remember Robert Taylor's epic title run? Yeah, neither do we. He was the guy Milwaukee thought was more worth than Dirk Nowitzki, and ended up trading Dirk straight out of the draft. The double-double stat sheet Taylor averaged in college was enough to fool them into thinking he would become their long-term player, and it backfired big time. They would go on to struggle and not reach the finals until Giannis, while Dirk had many deep playoff runs and delivered the championship to Dallas back in 2011. Darrell Imhoff, Archie Clark, and Jerry Chambers didn't achieve anything big for the Philadelphia 76ers, but somehow their front office thought it would be a smart move to trade them for none other than Wilt Chamberlain. In 1968, Wilt was sent to the Lakers after just winning the MVP of the season and continued to be productive for years to come, even bringing the championship to Los Angeles in 1972. Meanwhile, the players whom we've called the Big Three as a joke didn't do anything significant for the franchise, which makes you wonder what was the reason behind pulling off such a trade. There are reports saying Wilt was in a really bad feud with the front office at the time, as nothing else would be close enough to a rational explanation for trading your four-time MVP for 3 low-tier players. Would you trade 11 NBA championships for any player? Well, in 1956, the St. Louis Hawks thought it would be great if they acquired 2 players for giving up 1, so the one they ended up giving was the one and only Bill Russell. If you know anything about the NBA, you know Bill Russell was the one to bring 11 titles to the Boston Celtics and is regarded as one of the sport's biggest icons. On the other hand, Hawks got Ed Macauley and Cliff Hagan, who had nowhere near the same impact. Of course, their management couldn't have known what Bill Russell would become one day, but if there was one moment they shouldn't have made that type of mistake, it was that one. Lastly, one of the worst trades ever belongs to the Nets, but it happened while they were located in New Jersey and for different reasons you might think. With the 51st pick in the 2003 NBA draft, the New Jersey Nets selected Kyle Korver from Creighton University and then traded him to the Philadelphia 76ers. What's crazy about this trade was there were no other players involved. The Nets did it for an undisclosed amount of cash which they used to pay their NBA Summer League fees and, hear this, a copy machine. Later on, Korver joked about it in a commencement speech, saying that the copy machine broke long ago while he was still playing. Now that we've covered some of the worst trades in the NBA, let's see some of the best ones that resulted in massive improvements and led to winning championships. If there was a franchise with a perfect single season in its history books, it's the Toronto Raptors. What happened as a getaway from San Antonio would turn in one of the most unexpected title runs in recent NBA. Yes, people are still asking what would have happened if Klay and KD were 100% healthy during those finals, but we can't take away anything from that Toronto squad that year, especially after the gruesome series against Philly and that now iconic Game 7 shot. After Kobe had won his last title in 2010, the Lakers were on a downhill path. Adding LeBron in 2018 was a bold move, but he couldn't click with their young core, so he decided to trade them and bring help in AD. The move paid off immediately as they went on to win their first and only chip playing together, mostly because of disbanding the role players that supported them in their run. When you think about it, AD significantly improved LeBron's status in the Lakers organization, because without that championship, there's no way he would be able to pull off the moves he's pulling today. Wiggins was hyped as the next big thing for Minnesota, but ended up being one of the key pieces for the Golden State Warriors. We all celebrate the big three of Steph, Klay, and Draymond, but truth be told, if there was no Wiggins, that 2022 title would have been much more difficult to acquire. All the Warriors had to give up for him was D'Lo, some role players, and a first-round pick, which isn't too much when you get a championship on the other side. When Nikola Jokic arrived in Denver, everyone knew he was special. However, he kept losing in the playoffs and it was obvious he needed help, and his front office delivered, big time. Aaron Gordon is one of the best teammates to have in the league right now, as he found a way to flourish being the third or fourth option instead of being the main guy. There's a saying that stars win games, bench wins championships, and Aaron Gordon was a sidekick you could only dream of. At the beginning of last summer, Dame was the hottest thing on the NBA market. Little did everyone know Jrue Holiday would be one of the biggest difference makers in the league, let alone end up with a championship. Well, Brad Stevens showed another side of his basketball IQ and ended up getting Jrue for Brogdon, Williams III, and 2 first-round picks. Adding Kristaps was just icing on the cake, so Brad Stevens deserves all the praise he gets for pulling such bold trades, which resulted in a long-desired banner number 18. That's it for today, Hoop Fam. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments what do you think was the best and worst trade in the NBA. Thank you for watching and growing this channel. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one.